What's up, guys? I decided to do this full etching tutorial from start to finish. So anything that you need to know about making the patterns in Adobe Illustrator to put them on some PNP blue. You can use vinyl too, but I personally use the PNP blue. Printing it out, everything, right? This is going to be a pretty long video. A special shout out to my buddy Lando, who gifted me the Flagship to do this with, and you know, he's the reason that a lot of you guys are watching this today, and over at his channel, he helps you guys out a lot with Sabers. So I thought it was only fitting to try to help somebody out with this. So this is what I ended up doing to it. This is kind of an aliens theme. Well, it is an aliens theme, right? So, you know, from the movie Aliens, I did this to match the brass flagship that I got from my buddy Carl Danby. He did me a flagship in a Predator theme, so I wanted to do something similar just to have a matching set. So this is what I did. I didn't cover the wrap. This is just it's a pretty simple wrap, but everything else that I did to get to this point, I covered. I taught myself how to etch, so there might be some different ways to do it or some better ways to do it out there, but this is my way. Usually this is something that people are pretty hush-hush about. So I started watching the video from Carl over at KR Sabers. I watched his video first, pulled a lot of stuff from that, so thanks, Carl. And then I watched a lot of different videos and then tried some different things. It took me a lot of money for trial and error. I think I ruined 3 Sabers until I got it right. And then my buddy Carl Danby over at Vaults of Valhalla, he's always been pretty open for me to bounce ideas off of, but I was pretty confident in my ability to etch, you know, by the time I started talking to Carl. But I have bounced a few ideas off of him, and he's always been open to that. So thanks, Carl. And then to a guy named Ethan Chesser on Facebook, who shared with me what he did for the oven, right? So I think he did 316 degrees. I just kind of tweaked that a little bit, but he was super open to sharing what he did when it came to actually transferring the pattern onto the saber. So thanks for that, Ethan, because he didn't know me from Adam, you know, when he shared that info with me. So this has been a long venture on trying to do something like this, and this is something that I enjoy doing. I don't get to do it very often, but I really enjoy doing it, and I think it brings out the sabers, especially on the flagships like this, right? Because they just really pop, and they're highly customizable. So I mean, you can have one-of-a-kind pieces that I've got both here. This is an amazing piece from Carl. If you've seen my video on it, I've actually I've installed this guy with a Profi V2. I did a clear translucent chassis out of resin so I could light this guy up. It does all kinds of stuff. I've got a dual tactile switch from Robert Sotomayor over at Sorok Sabers. This is running a 28mm Smuggler's Outpost speaker, and I will be doing the same thing to this aluminum one that I just etched today, although I think I'm going to be doing the chassis in a clear green to give it more of an aliens feel, and then I'll probably do a video of that after it's all installed too, and then it will have the aluminum the aluminum dual tactiles for this guy. I did the wrap on here because I wanted to match this guy. I don't typically do a wrap on an etch. I would etch the whole handle, but I tried my best to not overlap the etch because Carl does a nice job with his stitching there. I don't know how to stitch, right? So I know how to twist a piece of leather on a piece of metal, and that's what I did. Yeah, so I know it's a long video. Thanks for watching. Hopefully, by the time you're done watching it, you feel like you can do this too, because really anybody can. All right, thanks. Okay, so we're going to start making a pattern for the flagship. I wanted to do this in a Predator theme, right? So the first thing I did was went to Google, pull that up, and looked for, you know, xenomorph. I gotta spell it right. Xenomorph vector images, basically. And I went here, And then there's a bunch of different ones to choose from. I want to try to stay away from something like this, and look for the images that are more black and white like this. They're just easier to transfer and to mess with the settings for. So I went in here previously and pulled up a couple images like this that I want to use. So this image right here is actually on the brass flagship that Carl did for me. So I'll be using this one image on the window section in between the shrouds to kind of tie in the two flagships. And then I want to use this one for a shroud. And then I want to use this one for the other shroud. And then I want to use this for the 5 pommel bump outs. And that's my plan so far, right? So I'm just going to set this off to the side. I did go in here and look for this too. And just look at different quotes. We can go like this. And we're just looking for different quotes. This is one quote right here that I want to use for the shrouds. It's going to be in the background. All right, so I'm just going to put this over here where you can't see it because I need to be able to read that here in a little bit. The first thing we're going to do is come in here. We're going to start with the shrouds. So I'm going to open these. I'm going to open this one first with Adobe. And it's going to take it a second. And here it is, but it's kind of big, right? So we're just gonna, if I zoomed in on it, you can see that the lines, let me zoom in on it. That's not very good for an etching image, so we're gonna have to clean all this up. But first I want to shrink it down. Something like that. Now I'll come over here and I'll click on the image, window, image trace, and then you can hit preview, and this is where we start turning into a usable pattern. Now it's all black and white, super sharp. Now if I zoom in on it, you can see what we did to these lines. Right now it's a very good image. So that's what I want to use. I can play around with these if I want to. Might dial this in just a little bit. I like to try to get a lot of detail in my etches, and that's where the PMP blue paper comes in. So vinyl for etching it's a very nice resist, but you can't get some of these details, or it'd be very difficult to. So PMP blue is what I use. You can grab as much detailing as you want. Now that we've got that, I'm going to take this image, I'm going to come up to Object, Transform, and I'm going to reflect this image because everything is going to be etched backwards when I actually put it on the metal. Now we'll take a look at the transparency window. So I need to get rid of this background, right? So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to shrink this down just a little bit more. Let's say 30. That works. Come in here and zoom in on it. Now with my pen tool, I need to make sure I'm clicked off the image first, and then go to my pen tool and make sure these are both on the red line. Because I'm going to come in here, I'm just going to trace around this guy. I basically want to make a circular pattern out of this image. I'm zoomed in really far on it too, right? So I don't have to be exact with this. You can make a circle if you want, but I just like doing this. So I've done that. Zoom back out of it. Come back to my select tool, go to select and select all, object, clipping mask, and then make. There, now I've made my first image for one of my shrouds, and that looks good to me, so I'm going to save this. And I'm going to put it in this folder, Shroud 1. And that's good to go there. So we're going to exit out of that. We've done this guy. Now I wanted to use this one for a shroud as well. So we'll do the same thing here. We'll open it up in Adobe. It's a little big. That'll work. Image trace. Come over here and take a look at this. That looks pretty good. We'll just mess with this a little bit. And we start getting some more detailing in, which is nice, right? So that's looking good. We're going to leave that alone. And look what our transparency grid looks like. So we've got that square again. We'll need to come back with our pen tool. On this particular one though, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take out the middle section as well. I'm going to come over here. I want to capture all of this, right? So now we're almost done. And we're going to wrap all the way around and finish off right here. And we'll zoom out. Come back to our selection tool and select all, object, clipping mask, and make. Now we've done that too, but we can't forget to flip this. Now that pattern is all ready to go on a shroud as well, so we'll save that too. And we'll save this as Shroud 2. So now we've got the two main patterns for our shrouds. We're going to start working on the actual shroud piece. So I've got a pattern for the shrouds already because I've done them so much. Oops. Yeah, there we go. I'm going to zoom in on this a little bit. So what I'd like to do is I'm going to take a quote from the movie and have it in the background along here, and then have my main pattern over the words right here, right? So that's why I had saved this. Let me find it. this right here. This quote is from the Nostromo when they got new orders to go and investigate the alien life form. So this is what I'm going to use. I'm just going to type this over and over again until I fill up the shroud. And it's going to take me a little bit because I want these words kind of small. Again, trying to capture as much detail as I can. We're going to start here. You can come pick whatever you want it, however you want it to say. Really, it's just like computer words, right? So they're pretty boxy, but if you wanted to put some spin on it, you could, like something like that. You don't want to use the Batman Forever font, but we can take a look at some of this stuff, right? I may just stay with what I've got. There's a lot to choose from. And you can grab your own fonts too and load them in. But I'm not going to do that for this. I'll go back up here. I actually kind of like this one, so I'll probably just do this, right? And then that's with the height. Height looks good there. Make this in the middle. Then we'll just start typing, right? That's it right there, but now I'm just going to keep typing this until I fill up the entire shroud. probably got one more to do. Okay, so we finally typed all that out, so now we can type away from it. We're going to take this entire thing, and remember, especially with words, you're going to want to reflect them and make them backwards so that they etch properly. If you forget to do this, it'll look really weird, right? We're going to line this up about right here or so. That looks fine. And then we'll come back with our pen tool. Now we need to trace the outline of the actual shroud. So if you look carefully behind there, you can see it. Come here and here. Oops. I won't do that. I want to go like here, here. About like that. Oops. I want to catch that arc of that shroud right. Something's messing up here. Let's try this again. Let me go right here. Zoom in on it a little bit. Go right here. Let's try right here. There. Catch this right here. Got a spot right here, right here. And we'll catch this last arc. So something like that. And we'll zoom out. Now again with the select tool, select all, and we'll make a clipping mask out of this too. And that works right there. Now this time we're going to use our pen tool again, but then on this stroke, we want to use our stroke and make it black. Because we're going to make a border on this shroud. Right? I do this twice. So let's do like a 0.015. maybe. And this is where I probably take the long way. There might be a better way to do this, but this is just the way that I do it. About like that. Now we want to come back with our pen tool. And one more time, for the last time, we're going to trace this guy. You'll be able to snap to the lines that you've already made. So that makes it easier, and then just eyeball this arc right here. Let's try to get it in the middle. And about right here. And time in the middle. And last one. About like that. So if we select all at this point and make one more clipping mask, you'll see that we took away the outside border. And that's what we want right here. So I've got my words from the Nostromo right here. I've got my border for my etch, so that looks good. And I'm going to save this right here. And I'm going to save it into my aliens folder. I just got to find it. Oh, right here. I'm going to save it as a Shroud template. Because I'm going to use this. No, let's do this. I'm going to save it as an Illustrator, because I'm going to use this for both of the shrouds, but the main emblem is going to be different, right? So now I'm going to place one of my drawings. Let's do the first one. I'm going to place it right here. Obviously it's too big, so we'll just kind of play around with the scaling. It might be okay. Let's come in here. This looks pretty good, so we're going to center it onto the shroud the best that we can. About right there, right? And then we're going to save this as complete shroud 1. erase that one, and then we'll place our secondary one, which was this guy, and we'll do the same thing. It's fitting on there pretty good. And about just like that. And we'll save this as complete shroud too. Now we've done our shrouds. If I went and placed the complete shroud 1, and you can see these are our 2 shrouds now that we're going to etch. Right, so we're good to go there. I am happy with what I did here. We're going to erase that for now. Now we need to do the windows between the shrouds, and that was where I wanted to do this guy right here. All right, so we'll open this in Adobe as well, or in Illustrator. And we'll do the same thing. We'll do an image trace, preview. I'm going to come in here and mess with some stuff. If you hit ignore white, it'll get darker, so that's good. Okay, but now that's good, but what I want is, I actually want the black parts to be etched and all the white part to stay silver. So what I need to do is click on this and come edit colors, and invert colors. Now on my resist, I'll put down the resist, and everything black it'll be shiny aluminum, and all the white is what will get etched, and that's what I want in between the windows. I don't want the entire thing to be etched, just this design. So if I come and open this, my flagship templates that I've got, come to my 2 windows, I can see like my window measurement over here, because I've already taken it, is the width is 0.93 and the height is 8.9. So I need to first adjust my units from points to inches. Okay. And then what did we say? 9.3 and 8.9. And that's my window. That will fit inside my window. So we'll save. We're not going to quite save it yet. We need to flip this around first. Just like that. We flip that image because I want the opposite image when I etch. And we'll save this as, window. We're good to go there. Window's done. Now we need to do the 5 pommel bump outs, right? And what I wanted for that was this guy right here. I'm going to scale it down a bit. Image trace, preview. Ignore the white. This is going to be so small, you know, that I'm kind of happy with this anyway. But we come over here and look at our show transparency grid. It's all transparent, so that's good, right? Yeah. We're going to trace over it anyway. And I don't like that box around it. So we use our pen tool again. No, hang on. Here's what we're gonna do. Scale this down. Okay. We'll invert the colors first because I would just want this etched. I don't want to etch my entire pommel, so this works here. Now we can image trace. That looks good. The one thing we want to do is we want to kind of tighten up the spacing. Hit box. We'll do a box here. Just about like that. Because we want to get rid of the outside border, right? When we go to measure this up. There we go. So now I can take this and make it the actual size of my bump out, which is bump out's right here, right? The .35, .69. That's our bump out right there. So we're all good here. So I'm not doing the handle. I've got all my pommel caps. I'll use that image 5 times on my pommel caps. I've got my 2 windows. I did my 2 shrouds. And I do not think that I'm going to do the under the windows or the switch area on this particular saber, right? So we're good there. If I did a new guy and I imported all of the stuff that we just did, it would look something like this. Okay. We're going to use this image twice for the window, so we're going to come over here to edit, copy, paste. That gives us 2 of them to use, right? So that's good. And we'll come place the bump out, which is this guy right here, and we actually need 5 of these. Two, 3, 4, and 5. Well, now we got 5 of those to mess with. We got our 2 shrouds. In between the 2 shrouds are 5 pommel bump outs, and yeah, that's pretty much it for now. Next, I'll have to think about if I'm going to do the under the switches or not, but I don't think I'm going to on this guy. So the next part of the video will be how to transfer this to PNP Blue. What printer, what transfer paper to use, and how you do it. Okay, so what you'll need for this part is the PNP Blue transfer paper, and that's this stuff right here. And it will come in a sheet or it comes in sheets. It looks like this. You'll have a matte side and a shiny side. We're going to be printing on the matte side. So that's to transfer the image. And then once we transfer it, the tools that we're going to need is you're going to need an acrylic pen, just acrylic paint pen, X-Acto knife. You're going to need a bunch of blades, and then heat tape, basically, right? And then to print on this PNP blue, you need a toner printer like this Samsung. This is a Samsung M2020W. This is a great toner printer that I found on eBay, and you could probably find one on eBay too. And it's great for printing on PNP blue. So now we've got all the pieces of the patterns that we made previously, right? I got them. I just put them on one piece of paper. Now we're going to print on the PNP blue on the matte side. I'll just come over here and put this in. Just like this. Turn this guy on. And then come over here and print. Now it's going to come out and print. And I only use this printer for etching. Kind of help it out a little bit. Now we've got all of our design that we're going to put on the Flagship. Yeah. Okay, so for this part, before we put the patterns and transfer them to the shrouds, we need to prepare the shrouds, right? So I've got some 3000 grit. This is a 3000 grit sandpaper, which is nice and smooth. It's enough to do these up. We're going to sand it all in one motion and get some microscopic scratches in there, and it will hold the resist better. So we could do a deeper etch this way if you just prepare the metal right. All right, so we're just gonna, should only take about one piece, and we go all the same direction. So this will put a bunch of micro abrasions into it that will hold the resist. So you can see the difference there. That's kind of what we're after, right? And I'll do that to this one too. And I'm not going to do this to the place that is in between the shrouds on the actual hilt, since we're doing a kind of a negative etch on that, and most of it will remain shiny. There's no need to prep it like this. And then once I'm done doing this, I'll take it back inside and clean it with some isopropyl alcohol before I put the I tape on the patterns. So we'll clean it with isopropyl alcohol and then try not to touch it as much as I can so I don't get the oils from my fingers on it. And that's pretty much it right there. That's all we want. All right, now we got to cut all these out. And you're going to need a lot of razor blades, because when these start getting dull, take it out and throw it away immediately, right? So we'll just... And you got to do it with your left hand. Can't do it with your right hand. And that's our other shroud. So we got the two shrouds cut. And we'll set these both off over here. Do these easy guys first. I'll probably freehand these because they're so small. But if you're doing something larger like the handle or something that need to be straight, you just get you one of these. I'll do one with this and then I'll freehand one too. So that's one of our windows that will sit between the shroud like this. Just like that. We'll set this off to the side, and that's what you do with a ruler, obviously. I'm just going to freehand this guy. And there we've got our other window. We'll set that off to the side, and now we got to do these 5 bump outs that I was talking about. Will go on the pommel, and they'll go, you know, right here, here. We didn't sand this, and we didn't sand this because we're doing negative etches on these, so everything will remain shiny except for what's you know, what doesn't have toner on it right here. It's such a small amount that I didn't want the sanded finish on the pommel. Gotta remember to do it with your left hand. I might get away with cutting all these without changing my blade, but that usually doesn't happen. If I were etching the handle and then I had to cut my handle pattern after this, I'd go ahead and change my blade. Alright, now we've got all of our patterns cut out. I'm going to come over here. It doesn't have to be 91% isopropyl, but I use this for my resin printer and I've got it handy. So any isopropyl alcohol is fine. Or if you don't have that, you can use acetone too. I washed these with soap and water before I came in here. But even doing that, and if I wipe this with isopropyl, you can see how dirty it's getting. You got to get all that dirt off here, or your resist is not going to stick well. I usually give these guys about 2 wipe downs. Now you should probably wear gloves so you don't touch it again with your fingers. That's the way you should do it. I don't do that. I haven't never had any issues with it, but others will tell you to wear gloves, and they're right. You should wear them. I also washed my hands really good with soap and water right before I came in to cut these. So barely any dirt on there. This one's looking really good too. Now the way these face matter, right? Because you can see this hole up here is closer to the edge and this one isn't. So those are correct right now. If one was like that, those are not lined up properly, and you really have to make sure that you have those correct, right? I don't know if you'll be able to see it on here. It's barely noticeable. And you can almost see the hole pattern right here in your resist. That's closer to the edge, so this is considered the top, right? And then you can see your hole pattern right here almost, and that's this guy right here, because it goes just like that. And that's one thing I messed up on when I etched my first flagship, is I accidentally put my patterns on like that. So you want to really watch out for that, because that will ruin your entire project. We're going to come back over here and get this one more time. And we'll get the 2 places, like here, we'll get all these bump outs. Make sure they're nice and clean. Put that over there, and then we're going to etch these 2 window areas too, right? So we're going to wipe that down really nice. Wipe that down really nice too, just like that. And I'll just go over it one more time. One wipe, nice and clean, both sides. Oh, that's trash. So now we're going to use our heat tape. We're going to tape these shrouds. We're going to tape the patterns to the shrouds, and I'll show you how I do that. So, one single piece of tape. One pattern. Kind of try to get in the back of the middle right there. All right. We're going to take this, put this on here. We're going to make sure it's lined up correctly. Once you feel like you got it lined up the way it should be, come and wrap one side like that, and then come over here and make sure everything is flat and press tightly, and then put this side over here like that. And that's one. I'll do that again. Now we've got these two. We're going to set these off to the side. And we're going to do our windows. So we've got one window. Make sure you don't put it on upside down. Come over here. You got to use your belly. Make sure you get that lined up right. One piece. Just like that. You can see it's kind of equal distance between the vents and the side of the PMP blue. You got that much distance over here, that much over here. I'm pretty happy with that. We'll do that one more time. Now that we've got one piece here, we've got one piece here, this is where you have to wrap it really tight. So I'll come get my roll. I'll start right here on the side where the tape's already at. Start working your way down the middle. I'll go where the tape is at first so I don't twist the pattern because I'm pulling this tape as I'm wrapping it around. I'm wrapping it as tight as I possibly can without breaking this tape. It's got to be super tight. And if you feel like you got to go over it a few times, that's fine. Go over it a few times because the tighter the better. This is how it's going to transfer to your metal. Just like that. So now we've got these windows wrapped up nice and tight. So this is the part. Let me take this out. Well, we can leave that in for now. It's not hurt anything. So this is how I wrap my shrouds. I tried wrapping them individually when I first started doing this. It didn't work out very well, but what I found is best is to come over here and just kind of place it where it goes. Put this one over here. Just hold it there with your hands. We'll kind of do one wrap that's not as tight just to kind of hold them in place. And we'll start wrapping tight. Remember, you want to pull this tape and get it as tight as you possibly can without breaking it. Getting these tips is a little tricky, but you got to get those too. Got to get the very tips of these shrouds down here. And make sure those are taped up good too. And we're pretty solid. So now we've got our shrouds wrapped up. We've got our windows in here all taped up to the metal. This is ready for the oven, right? We're going to set this off to the side. Then we do this piece. This can be a little tricky, getting these guys to stick. You kind of want to lay it on the tape like that. We're just going to do one piece for each one first. And you're basically, it's going to lay on there like that. And we'll move to the next one. We'll do that 5 times. Square it up on that bump out as best you can. Because if you don't, after it etches, it will be noticeable. And we got that centered up right there. So after you get that taped up, it's going to look a little something like this, right? They're not very well on there, but we're going to go back and we're going to tape all these. I like to get them all on there first. I'll start it on one. I won't go too tough at first. Just kind of a nice 1 row of tape to get them all sitting kind of flush. Now that they're on there good, this is when I start, on my second pass is when I start tightening it up. I'm going to bring this all the way down to the threads, really just so I know where to find it when it's time to take it off. And now we've got this ready for the oven too. Now these pieces are ready for the oven. We're going to bake these at 326 degrees in the oven. Wait till it's all the way preheated. Put a baking pan on the bottom shelf. You can take the top shelf out if it's getting in your way. 326 degrees for exactly 16 minutes. And we'll take the tape off after these cool down so you can see what they look like. And then we'll touch up our resist, because you never get a perfect transfer with PMP blue. There's always a little something you got to touch up, and that's where the black acrylic pens come in handy, or in even nail polish. So sometimes I use nail polish as well. But we're going to use a mixture, maybe nail polish, black acrylic pens, and then we're going to tape off the saber and get it ready for the actual etching process. Okay, so we put these in the oven for 326 degrees at 16 minutes. Pulled them out. Usually I set a timer for another 16 minutes while they sit on the counter and let them cool off. These have been out for about 10 minutes. This is fine. This one's a little warm. This one's about, room temperature. It's good enough to go ahead and peel these off. And moment of truth. We'll see if the patterns came out the way we wanted them to, and this is usually the most nerve-wracking part of the process. I gotta find my end of my tape first. That one will be fine. Excuse me. So we had a successful transfer here, and then I'll have to go back and I'm going to tape off my threads, of course, block all this off. We're going to color all this in. We might do these parts in here with some nail polish, do some acrylic pen to touch up like that corner and stuff like that. But all together, this came out the way I wanted it to, so I'm pretty happy with that. And then we'll move on to the other one. When you look at your PMP blue, after you've taken it out of the oven, if you can see your resist come through the other side and you can see your pattern, that's a really good sign. That means you had a good transfer. So expect those shrouds. to have transferred very nicely. That one came out the way I wanted it to, so that's cool. You can see that. And then we'll do this one over here. And that one came out. That one came out the way I wanted it to as well. So we're looking pretty good for the windows. Now we'll do the shrouds. Kind of the focal point of the saber. Just take it just like that. And that looks really good. So you're always going to have small stuff like this right here that we're going to touch up with a pen. You know, that's to be expected. Small areas in the corner like that, those are easily touchable. But you can see like the alien design came out really well. All of our words came out well, so that's all going to be a nice etch. So we'll set that off to the side, and we'll do this one. Same with this one. This one looks really good too. So you'll notice, like on this one, there was a piece of dirt or something in here in between the metal and the PMP blue. You can almost see it in the light right there. So that piece of resist didn't transfer over. Something this small, I'm just going to touch this up with a pen because that's easy to do. But if you had a large chunk that didn't transfer, sometimes what you could do is very carefully flip this back over and line it back up, tape it up, and put it in the oven again. But we don't need to do that here. So those are going to be our shrouds. These look really good. We'll touch our shrouds up with an acrylic pen to that one piece there that had that speck of dirt on it or something. We're just going to color that in. Just like that. So that'll be good. And then we're going to go around the border, right? Because you see like some pieces on the border. And you got to be quick with this pen because once you go over it one time and it dries, you're not really going to be able to color over it again. It doesn't really like to go over itself. And once that one dries, that's ready to go. And then we'll do the same for here. So we don't really have to touch anything up in here, which is nice. We just have to go over the border. And this is something I really have to do almost every time. But I got a majority of it on there, so I'll have a nice straight border. Not a big deal. Come over here. Missing a little bit right there. Those two are ready to go. Now for over here, you see we got stuff like this. So I'm going to touch this. I'm going to touch this piece up with an acrylic pen. Now maybe something like this and bring it down to the corner. What I'm going to do is I'm going to come back and go over all the spots that I don't want etched in here with some nail polish. This one got a little crooked, but that's okay. And we're also going to touch this up too. But before we do that, we know on this guy, this is the only place that we want etched, is this circle and everything in it. Everything else doesn't get etched, so we're going to have to mask it off. And that's where you use this tape again. At least this is what I do. It works out really well. I'll just start that right here. Also be pulling this tightly. And we'll go ahead and leave that blade retention screw in. It's not hurting anything. And do a little bit of overlapping to make sure you catch these inside pieces, because if you don't tape it right, you're going to have acid eat through that tape, like wherever there's a gap. So you just want to make sure there's no gaps. So that top piece is taped off pretty well. We're going to cap this. I'll show you how to do that later. And then we're going to come through and we're going to tape from here all the way to the threads. And what we don't leave, and what's not taped, we'll take care of it a different way. I'll show you how to do that. I'm going to have to work this tape over and then come back over it on my way back, so it doesn't eat up the inside of that lip. And we're essentially sealing off our switch hole, all of our screw holes. Everything is getting masked off the way it should be. So you'll see some etches out there where the inside is all nasty because it wasn't masked off properly, or threads are all nasty, and then you won't be able to screw the hilt on properly. Like, no, you got to take your time and mask it all off. Especially the threads, but the threads on the inside is just, it's super important. It's as important as if the etch came out well. All right, otherwise the saber looks like crap. The threads, and remember we had to come back over here and catch this. Now all of that is masked off except for this area right here, and we'll take care of that. We're going to take care of the actual box with an acrylic pen, the top and bottom of the box. We might take care of that too. Hang on, let's look at, see if we can do this. So right at that lip where it didn't transfer through, we'll kind of get that up in there. If you don't have an acrylic pen, you can just use a regular acrylic paint. That'll work too, but it's just a lot easier to control with a pen because you can get all those little places. I don't like going over this part with nail polish if I don't have to, because it gets very difficult to clean it in that area. But if I have to, I will. Let's get all that. Alright. I might end up having to use nail polish on these vents because I can see a few places that the paint's just not wanting to go. And I gotta get all that really well, which is fine. I might abandon the acrylic pen. Nice thing about living in a house full of girls. So we'll just come in here. This is a technique I learned from Benji's mom.
Oh, hell no!
pretty masked off. I may let that dry and then make sure it's all covered and then go after it one more time. But for the most part, this piece right here is ready to be etched. And then we have to do the same to this guy. So I'm going to do the rest of this part off of camera because this is going to take me a little while, and you kind of get the idea, right? So you can see, like, you can see what I'm trying to accomplish here. I only want the alien etched, so I got to block off all my metal. I got to come in here and get all that. I'm going to block all this off. I'm going to do the inside here in a different way. I'll do some tape starting on the upper part of this lip and block it off. I'll show you a picture of it when it's done. But I'll be right back. So this is everything you need to etch. We finally got to the etching phase. We're going to etch with a copper sulfate that you can get from Amazon. You can also etch aluminum with ferric chloride. The higher the bomb, the better. This has a bomb of 42 degrees. If you can get that higher, that'll etch even better, but this one etches fine. You just have to pay attention to it. But I'm not going to use that today. We're going to use copper sulfate crystals, some iodized salt, or if you want to get fancy, you can use sea salt. This works fine. This was 99 cents. This goof off is going to help us take the resist off the metal. I've tried to use just the liquid form, but the aerosol can is way better, so that's what we're going to use here. A little container of some aluminum black with a sponge brush. We've got some steel wire. I've already pre-cut. This is what we're going to dip the actual pieces into the solution that I'm going to mix over here. This is my etching container. Kind of nasty, but it works. Excuse me. Now I've already I finished masking off these pieces, so we did this and finished off with all of the nail polish. These are rubber stoppers for powder coating. These work really well for masking off the inside of all the pieces. So I've got one here, obviously, another one here. The only pieces that will get etched are the bump outs that I want to get etched. So that's very important. This whole masking job, that's what takes almost the longest to do if you do it right, right? And then off camera, what I also did is I put some heat tape on the back of my shroud so it wouldn't get etched. And then I went along the outside rim with some nail polish. So the only thing getting etched is the aluminum coloring that you see on each of these shrouds. Same with this guy, right? I got our tape. Everything's looking good there. And then shout out to my buddy Carl Danby, who told everybody about the balloon trick, right? So it's a lot better than going in with your finger and trying to tape off the insides of these vents. So I put a balloon in here, blow it up a little bit, tie it off. That's perfectly sealed tight. All these holes are taped, and then down here I've got one more rubber stopper. I have a variety pack of these, so a variety pack on Amazon's like 10 bucks, and you'll get, you know, whatever sizes you need. They even have the smaller ones to go in the switch holes if I was doing this area, which I'm not, obviously, so that's taped off. So everything here is ready. We're gonna mix our copper sulfate and salt. I do 200 grams of copper sulfate and 200 grams of salt. We'll put this guy on here. We'll zero this out. Just like that. Some people will keep this mixture and use it over and over again. I don't really do that. I like to just do a new mixture every time. The more you use the mixture, the longer it takes. And you know, if I do a new mixture, it takes the same amount of time to etch each time. So it's not that expensive just to start over and be clean about it. So that's 201. We'll go with a 402. Will be the same amount of salt. We'll get as close as we can. The more salt, the quicker it will etch. But I do like to just do like a, there we go, that's fine. Equal amounts. We'll just take this guy right here and put it in here. So I'm going to go to my tap real quick in the house. I'm going to fill up half of this with hot to warm water, and then the rest of it with lukewarm water. I just want it filled up to about right here. That's what I'm doing. I'll be right back. So I ended up filling up this with hot to warm water. It ended up being 6 cups, right? So 6 cups of water, 200 grams of copper sulfate, and 200 grams of salt. And now we're just going to mix it up. Got my fancy wooden spoon. Mix it up and just get everything off the bottom and make sure it all dissolves. Doesn't take long. Just like that. Okay, now we can finally etch. Before we do though, take my phone out. I need the timer on my phone, because I'm going to etch these guys for exactly 2 minutes. So we can do the 2 shrouds at the same time. We'll just take this, bend it like this. We'll just go through one of the screw holes, if I can find it. There's one. And I'll do the other one. So they're hanging in there nice. We got 45 seconds. We're going to leave it in there for 2 minutes and 45 seconds. Now when you start looking in there after a while, you can see it bubbling a little bit, and then you can hear it. After 2 minutes, just take it out. We'll put it in the cold water. We got a bucket of cold water right here. This is something I've reused a couple times. It doesn't have to be super clean. It just needs to be water to kill the reaction. And you can see it starting to bubble. It's getting black. It's doing its thing. Sometimes I'll use my wooden spoon and I'll put it through the steel wire and suspend it right here so I don't have to hold it, but it's only 2 minutes, so it's not that bad. And that's where we're going to use this little guy right here. I like to use this to take off some of the gunk. So it's been 2 minutes and 45 seconds. We'll just take this and dip it in the cold water. Kind of swoosh it around a little bit. And it'll basically look like that. So what you want to do, you just take this brush in the water and just gently take some of that gunk off. And it will look like that, right? So we're gonna, you can take it off with your gloved finger too, but sometimes you'll have some little areas in there that need the brush. Like you can see some little areas in there that are just a copper color, but that comes off with the brush. Just like that. So it's a good etch, I can feel it, but I want it a little bit deeper, so I'm probably going to go for another minute. Alright, now we're coming up on our 1 minute mark. So now we'll just take these like this. Kind of looks like that, right? You got a bunch of gunk on there. Kind of wipe it off with your finger. We'll come back and we'll hit those spots with a brush that kind of didn't come out of the small grooves. And that's what we're left with, and that looks really nice. You can really feel the etch on that one. And this one should be the same because they were in the same amount. Doing 2 shrouds at the same time also keeps your etch consistent. And we've got that one too, and that looks really good too. You can see that maybe in the light. You can feel it with your fingers. So these etched really nice. I got a little bit more I could clean up with the brush right there. You don't have to scrub it hard. I'm trying to leave my resist on here on purpose so that I can put the aluminum black on. Right? So just like that. Those came out exactly the way I wanted them to. Now we'll go over to this guy. I'm just going to hold this. I'm not even going to put it on any steel wire. I might give this a good mix first. And then 2 minutes. Alright, 1 more minute in there. Take this out, dip it in the water. We'll get all that gunk out of there. So that came out the way I wanted it to. I got a little bit in there, I'll just clean off with a brush. We'll do that real quick. So that's what we've got there. 2, 3, 4, and 5. They all look pretty good, right? So we'll set those off to the side. And we'll do the last guy. I'm gonna hold this guy too. Probably just hold it just like this down in there for about 2 minutes. Alright, it's been I actually went about 2.5 minutes on this guy since I've been doing 3 minutes on the rest. We'll take this and swish it around. Try to wash that off with my fingers. So you can see where it etched, but it's still like some of the places are still silver, so not all the aluminum etched. I'm going to go in there for another minute. Okay, we're coming up on 1 more minute. We'll take this guy out. Oh, that's the way I wanted it to be, right? Nice. You can see it's all nice and dull in there. It's been etched. So now we're good. The etching part's done. Now what I like to do is come in here. And just kind of tap these dry. And then this one. Dry enough. Now we're going to put some aluminum black on them and weather them. But I like to weather these when I leave the resist on, so only the aluminum is getting all of the aluminum black, and the resist is still protecting the shiny part, right? Now you could even just go like that if you wanted to. I brush it on there. It'll start getting really black. That's what we want. So that's reacting. We'll just put it over here. You can already tell the difference between the one I did and the one I didn't. Right? This one I did. So we'll put that here. This one's reacting very nice, so we'll put it over here. And then we'll just start doing this one. 1, And you can see those are starting to get dark. So it's doing what it should there too. All those are dark. We'll set that off to the side. And then we'll do this guy. Yeah, so those are nice and dark too. And we'll let this sit for about 2 minutes. Okay, we left these sit in here for about 2 minutes, right? So we'll just take them in, we'll dunk them in the water, kill the reaction from the aluminum black. This guy. And we'll start taking the balloon out and the tape out and look at what we did. Get that piece out. Take out our stoppers. And if we tape this up well, none of it got etched that we didn't want to. And now you can see the inside didn't get etched, right? Blade socket didn't get etched. Only the piece that we wanted etched was etched. We're gonna come over here with this goof off. And just clean it up. Nail polish takes a little bit to come off, but you just put a little bit of elbow grease in it, come right off, you'll be alright. This takes work. It's not easy to etch a saber. Not easy to etch a saber and mask off, is what I should say. The masking part is probably the toughest part of this entire thing. I pretty much I got some in the crevices there. So, when we wipe that off, that's what we're left with. I'm pretty happy with that. A little bit right there probably in that line. So yeah, that's in between the windows and that came out nice. So now we'll do a shroud. We could do this without gloves. Safety just gets in the way. No, just kidding, be safe. Wear gloves. I have eye protection on. So now we're going to wipe that down. Aluminum black will stay on there. This goof off is just taking the resist off, which is nice. And that's what we're left with on our shroud. That shroud came out really nice, and the contrast from the aluminum black really makes it pop, right? So we're going to take off just the sides of this nail polish that I had on here. And then you can see the sides of our shroud didn't get etched, which is what I wanted, right? I wanted that to stay all nice and shiny. This goof off, you have to work quick before it evaporates, and then it doesn't help you as much. You can be generous with it. Wipe her down. Just a little piece right there, no biggie. That's what we got there. So that shroud came out really nice. Now we'll go to the next one. And you can see the difference, right? I'm going to take this tape off. That's the shroud. So the shroud came out really nice. Nice contrast. Now we'll just go and we'll clean up the sides where I got that nail polish. I might come back and hit the sides of this with a little bit of steel wool just to clean it up a little bit, but for the most part, you know, and then I run these under hot water too. A little bit of hot water, no soap, just hot water to get all the chemicals off when I'm all done. And here are our shrouds. Our shrouds came out really nice. Put this off to the side, and we've got one more to clean. We'll pop that off and see how that protected all that, minus the nail polish, but that comes off right. All that's not etched, looking good. The stopper can be a bit of a bastard. If you pop that out, see if we protected our threads. Nice and clean threads. That's exactly what we want. Nothing in there on the inside got etched. And we'll just clean this guy up. This one's going to take a little bit more because it's got a lot of nail polish on it. Acetone might make this easier. I have not tried to use acetone while I'm cleaning on top of aluminum black. I'm not sure what it would do to the aluminum black. I know that this goof off leaves it on though, so like more often than not when I'm doing something like this, I'm doing it for a customer, so I'm going to do what I know works. And then you know, on the new stuff that I like to try out to see if it works, I'll do it on my own stuff. We almost got it all. And that's it. That's how you etch a saber. All put together, leather wrap. Doesn't matter what kind of design I did. Obviously you can apply this to any design that you want to do. I may go back here and do something in this switch section because now that I'm looking at it, I don't like that it's bare. I was more focused on getting this tutorial done. So yeah, I might go back and put something along this switch section in this lower ring before I install it. But that's it.